which takes us to 5.01, food service report. Dr. Kellogg, do you want to?
Thank you, President Davidson, members of the board. Tonight, we have a report from Carrie Dennis, who runs our, well, doesn't run, but leads our food service department. And this is, there's lots of parts of the organization that have to click to make things work real well. Transportation, maintenance, custodial services, and food services is one of them. And I think it'd be helpful for the board and for the public to see the kind of work that goes on behind the scenes, the magnitude of it, and then the efficiency of it, to which Carrie and her team deliver to our students every day. So I'm going to turn it over to Carrie to share with you what's going on in food services here in Westville City Schools. Carrie?
Good evening, President Davidson, members of the board, Mr. Griffith, and Dr. Kellogg. First, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity for our first food service department presentation. I'm excited for the opportunity. So to tell you a little bit about our food service department, we have 93 employees, which consist of 7 managers, 1 in each of our middle and high school locations. They are backed up by assistant managers at each of those locations as well. 4 department heads in our elementary satellite locations. Those service just our elementary schools. We run 1 kitchen out of Central High School and 1 out of Westerville South High School. 14 leads, so 1 in each of our elementary buildings. 27 food service worker 1s. Those people have specialized jobs in their areas as well as run our point of sale systems. Those are primarily in our middle and high schools. 34 food service worker 2 positions. Those are employees who work as service and prep primarily, and they are throughout our district in all levels of our buildings. Our revenue sources, for our department, we have about $4.7 million projected revenue in our budget. So 51% of that comes from our federal claims reimbursement from our participation in our reimbursable meal program, 1% in our state matching funds, 5% from our USDA commodity program, which is also tied into the participation in the reimbursable meal program, and that lovely 0.01% from interest. Got to account for all of it. Additional revenue sources are our student a la carte purchases, which is 41%, so not too far behind our federal resources. Adult a la carte purchases from our teachers and staff in our buildings, and catering, rebates, and other sources, which could come from building events, facility rentals, and then we cater the meals for the warm summer feeding program for their kids camp program, which has been a wonderful opportunity for us. Includes a picture of one of our meals that we catered. Student participation throughout the district in food service. At breakfast, year to date, we've served about 16% of our district students, average of 2,296 meals a day, of which you can see the breakdown for which levels of free, reduced, and paid student are participating in that. In comparison to last year, we're up about 2% for breakfast, and we continue to see that increase, which we welcome. The average daily participation for lunch, this year we are serving about 39% of our student population. And again, you can see the breakdowns for free, reduced, and paid. This is the history, free and reduced lunch history within our district from 2001 fiscal year to current. Sorry, the graph's a little small, it was a lot of years to cover. But you can see the continual rise in that. Interesting, going back for employment history, in 2004-2005 school year, we had 106 food service employees. So as our guidelines have become more and more strict, our wellness policy has implemented, and we're seeing a rise in our free and reduced. We've actually been reducing staff to keep things lean and allow as much resources to go back into our students. We're in our second year operation for our online lunch application program, which has been very successful for our department. We actually have had a reduction in the overtime associated with the applications by 70%, from going from a paper application to an online application. We still do have paper applications. It just gives the families an opportunity to do this off-site. The bulk of our students who are approved are done so through our direct certification program. Those come from the federal government towards us, and they are those families who are on the Ohio Works First, SNAP, and some foster children who are automatically qualify for the program. So you can see the number there. The remaining amounts come from the actual online application process. The above numbers include 159 afternoon kindergarten students who do not participate in breakfast for the obvious reason, and minimal participation in lunch based on the scheduling, which also affects those 187 morning kindergartners who we have minimal participation in breakfast as well, but few participate in lunch just based on scheduling. So we're excited to see that implementation of the all-day kindergarten program as it's starting, and we'll be able to service more of our students, hopefully. We also have 50 preschool students who do not currently participate, but they benefit from the fee reduction, just from the application or the direct certification process. The EasyPay online payment system, there are a number of different systems out there. Ours is EasyPay currently. It was introduced to our district in October of 2008. We've seen a steady increase in the participation since its inception. It allows the families to quickly put money into their students' accounts. It allows those lines to go faster. We utilize that through student ID numbers at our registers or through their ID cards, either options available to them. We also have since started using that system for school fees as well as athletic fees that are elementary and middle schools. USDA Guidelines is what our governing body and choices are for food service. Schools must follow food-based menu planning, and I've got an example on the next slide of that. Menus must meet minimal daily and weekly quantities and types of food items, including meat alternates, grains, fruits, vegetables, and milk offerings. And our milk offerings must come from 2 different types, meaning 1% plain or unflavored, fat-free, unflavored, or plain, and as well as the flavored milk options as well. Here in the graph, it might be a little hard for you to see, I apologize for that, but this breaks down how we plan our menus, what our guidelines are. Requirements in vegetables is a big breakdown for us, in dark greens, orange, legumes, starchy, and other vegetables. Kids' favorites, especially in the elementary level, or at least ones they would eat, often fall into that other and starchy food group. So we have made some adjustments to the menu and our offerings to allow, 1, for us to be compliant, and 2, for the students to have a variety. We also watch our calorie average. Meals have to average a certain amount of calories a week, can't have more than 10% saturated fat in offerings. And then that's all based off of and was implemented around the time that the government USDA went away from the food guide pyramid and went to the My Plate option. So this is what lunch looks like for our elementary students. We implemented produce bars this year at all of our elementary schools. So you see that we offered on this particular day cherry tomatoes, carrot coins, and sugar snap peas. And then the reimbursable meal for that day, so that student has 2 vegetables, a fruit, and twin mini cheeseburgers, as well as their milk. Sliders. So for our middle school students, you'll see that we also have, and this was part of our new construction this year, some of our additional funding went back into 3 of our locations. This is Blendon Middle School. So you see the salad bar at that location. The students have an opportunity to make themselves a salad. It could be a side item or an entree. They have an option just to choose veggies as a side item, as a veggie boat. They also have the deli bar for them, where they can have fresh sandwiches made for them just as they would at Subway, and choose your toppings, and we've got different sauces that they can choose from as well. We like the opportunity to make the students happy. I love this picture. It shows that big smile, and I accidentally caught it. And then what lunch looks like for our high school students. Again, you'll see a salad bar at this location. This is Westerville South. They have some fresh cantaloupe and honeydew melon on theirs, as well as an offerings of salads or side items for their fresh vegetables. Their hotline had 3 additional vegetable offerings in the hot selection that day, which was carrot coins, green beans, and a mixed vegetable. And then you see a baked ziti meat pasta option that day. It was the pasta bar day. Other highlights from our department is our real meal deal, and that allows the students to make menu selections based on their individual preferences. So we take that My Choice, and we start them young at the elementary level, and they can build their meals. We offer versus serve in our entire district. That allows students who want to have just a sandwich and a fruit that day, they can do that, or they can take up to a sandwich, a fruit, a vegetable, a milk. In the high school level, their requirements are a little higher, they get a little bit more. And again, the addition of the produce bars at all of our elementary schools, and the salad bars at our middle and high schools. Our department goals for the upcoming year is to establish a benchmark from student input via surveys. The technology roadmap for the district is exciting, and I think we'd like to get on board with that and start taking the opportunity while the students are online to getting some of their feedback and putting that in some of the decisions we make, meals coming forward, changes we need to make right now. Those are good too. We're looking forward to have the opportunity to get involved with renovation at Point View and the possible renovations of the Walnut Springs Middle School cafeteria to go along with that great new Center for Creation they've got going there. So again, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity to talk about food service. Any questions?
Any questions? Comments?
Quick comment. One, where's the burger and fries? Because that's what I grew up on.
We still offer burger and fries, they're just not fried anymore.
Couple things. One is if you wouldn't mind taking an opportunity, we have some folks in the back here with you. I
Absolutely.
thought might be great to introduce as well. I'm sure you had that on the docket, but I figured I'd jump in and steal your
Absolutely.
thunder. Why don't you go ahead and introduce them as well?
So we have the 2 assistant managers. Gary Hinkle's out of Westerville South, satellite is what we call that, but 2 of the middle schools and 1 of the high schools also report to him. So Gary. And Brent Kassler, who has Central Satellite, so he has the schools that report through there as well. And then the heartbeat of our department, Ms. Wanda Myers, the food service secretary, who we would be lost without.
Nice.
I have a question. Have you done any studies or noticed or done any just informal surveys of how much goes in a dumpster?
That's what I was thinking.
We have not officially done anything at this point, but I think that we would be very interested in getting involved in that. There was some studies that the ODE did last year where they actually had a group of several groups of colleges that got involved with weighing trays prior to. We had an opportunity to see that at the fall ODE conference, and it was really neat to see. So it would be interesting to team up somehow and get that accomplished, to see what we're looking at in waste.
Well, I mean, I've stood and watched, you know, when they just bring their tray back and dump it out. So I didn't know if you've noticed any difference in that, just
Well,
informally.
informally, I would say that there probably is an increase in waste. We probably have
Is that
seen
because
some
of
of
the
that.
federal requirements, do you think?
You're asking everything I was going to ask.
Sorry.
Okay, great minds think alike. Yes.
Yes.
When anytime you put a requirement for a student to have to take something,
Yeah.
you're going to see an increase in that. We utilize share tables at a lot of our buildings in our districts at the discretion of the principal, where if a student takes something that they didn't necessarily want, or maybe they got to the end of their meal and they were full and couldn't have that, they can leave it on the share table. And a student who may still be hungry can take advantage of that opportunity. We then share those items at times with the school nurse. So if a student's in the afternoon is hungry or whatever may be going on, that we can share that with them as well.
Yeah. What about them taking it back to their room? They probably can't.
They can. I think it's at the
Yeah.
discretion of the building as to
Yeah.
how they address that. We encourage it's theirs. You know, once it leaves our cafeteria, it's theirs to do with. We do worry a little bit about food safety
Yeah.
in some of those instances, but it's just getting involved.
About how many buildings would you say are participating in that sharing table?
All the elementaries,
Good.
most of the middle schools, I would say. Yeah, we do see it. I would say in probably almost all of them. There may be just one or two that are not taking advantage of that.
I'm glad they're all participating. That's a really good idea,
Yeah.
especially for some of our kids who are just downright hungry,
Absolutely, absolutely.
for whatever reason that may be. Yeah.
The other question I have, I hadn't seen this before, so will you put that online for us to see so we can,
Certainly.
copy this or
Happy to
give us
share.
a copy of it? The question I have is back on your our first or second slide there, regarding the state reimbursement, which, is there a way to increase that, or how is that determined? I assume that maybe there's a formula or something. You told us that 51% from the feds, and then, the matching funds was very low. What does that mean?
So reimbursable meals are any of those meals that meet those guidelines. So they have to choose the fruit or vegetable. They come through the line.
Speak a little slower,
I
please.
apologize. I have a tendency to
Again?
do that. Reimbursable meals are those meals in which they meet the requirements. So this year, they're required to take a fruit or vegetable, and they have to have 3 of the 5 components.
Yes.
Any of our students are eligible to meet that through that real deal that we offer. So a paid student, a free student, or a reduced student, we get some level of funding for each of them. A paid student is at $2.98. A reduced student, we get $2.58. And for every paid student, we get 20 cents. 28 cents. 28 cents, I apologize. The way to increase that amount is through participation, increasing the students participating. We implemented that real deal, which gave every student the opportunity to take advantage of a plated lunch, as it might have been formerly known, by qualifying every item we serve in our cafeteria to be plated. That was a very big change for us, and we saw a large increase in our participation numbers just from that during that time frame. But that is largely driven by student participation in a reimbursable meal. So the kids who aren't coming through just wanting a slice of pizza, but maybe they want a slice of pizza and some grapes or a veggie item.
So the short of it is what? You get so much because they buy their lunch and meet the federal requirements?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So driving up participation in our program.
Obviously, it's not much from the state, then, okay.
No, state
And one
matching.
more little question. Are you in the black or in the red? Are you self-sufficient? I haven't
are-
looked at that.
We are self-sufficient, have maintained being in the black
Thank you.
for, I don't know that we've ever ran in the red, have we? Not since I've been in the department.
We actually were so far into the black in part,
That-
correct me if I'm wrong, that
that's right.
we hit the ceiling point of what you can keep in the bank.
That's the reason we have to,
And that's why we're putting that back into capital improvement projects. So some of the cafeterias that we redid were from those funds, and we continue to operate that way. The piece that I found interesting that you kind of skimmed around, but is this whole educational component that's in there for kids. As they're growing young people about making food choices around those 4 areas, the food pyramid's gone, so all that learning I did in elementary school is shot, along with most of the history I learned. And so watching young people having to start thinking about their food choices and what they mean in the balance of their life as they go through the system, I think it's interesting. And then the opportunity that they're talking about in terms of getting student feedback about the choices and what they mean to them, I think it's good stuff, because that's really where we want young people to be. I would hope that a high school student is able to take a look at food options and think about their total health and make the right decisions around what they're putting on their plate each and every day, because it's an important part to their productivity, both at school and outside of school. So it's a good life skill, and I think they do it in subtle ways without the kids even knowing, which is good, and I appreciate their efforts. So. And they run a good ship. It's a good part of our organization.
Thank you.
I very much appreciate your work with WARM, and it's a really important partnership. I'm very glad that that continues, and I know there are discussions going on even now about what's going to be happening this summer. I expect to see that increase and our participation increase as well. So thank you very much for the work that you do there. It's more of a curiosity question than anything else. There's been a lot of press about the federal changes. And most of it has been negative press about the federal changes. And as you think about the changes that have gone into play in the past few years, what has been the most problematic for you, for food service here?
Personally, opinion
Sure.
only, I would say that it would have been the initial changes. When we initially stopped serving desserts and sweets and fried foods, took out milkshake machines, that was an elimination of jobs along the way. That shift was hard for staff to get on board with. The shift was hard for those students at the time, but we are 4 years into a change now, that those students were in middle school, and it's becoming more normal. I think the requirements within that, some of the ones that we see coming down the pike, sodium requirement, finished implementation is set for 2022. That would make almost in line with a heart-healthy patient diet in a hospital setting. So we're seeing some kickback there, but it's not there. We're not there yet. We'll see if it changes. I think that it's just those initial shifts. And as the students get on board, as we try to make options available to them that are in line and show them that you can have a well-balanced meal without all the others. We've taken the opportunity from our standpoint to get creative. We do a burrito bar, which is in line with some of those restaurant chains that we see. We do an Italian street fair bar. We have tacos. We've got foods that they see all the time. It's just within portion control. Add the extra veggies in, you can get a whole lot more to filling meal. So I see the good and bad. Seeing it from the start and the initial impact and seeing where we're at today, where the students, they're a lot more accepting of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a quick thank you to all of you, and thanks for coming tonight. You serve in one of those areas that's really kind of unsung, unheralded, but let's face it, it's pretty vital. And I'm trying to convince my son that apple juice is not the same thing as an apple, but that's a personal debate we're having. But I thank you for what y'all do, and it's just. It's behind the scenes, but it's awfully important, and you clearly are doing this diligently and faithfully, and in the black. That's really awesome. So thanks for coming tonight and educating us.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one quick thing. So I just wanted to say thank you for reaching out to the kids and asking them what they want, because I think if you can get buy-out from them, then change is going to be a lot easier. So thank you.
You're welcome.
That's good.
Thank you.
And thank you for what you do.